Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Some very big names in the world of crypto are flipping bullish on XRP, and I'm going to show you a few examples of just that in this very latest Moon Lambeau hot jam. Take a look at this example. Market veteran Peter Brandt says XRP is ready to blast off. Now, this one, I don't even know how to process this, and I'll explain why. This guy is one of the most notable sufferers of the affliction known as XRP derangement syndrome. And now he's bullish? Do you know how insane this is? I'll explain why. It's completely ridiculous. I mean, I'm happy for it. I'm not sure that I trust it quite. But, you know, it's not bad sounding. There's that. Also, by the way, there's a CEO fund manager, major firm, investment firm in the world of crypto, a billion-dollar firm in terms of assets under management. And this guy says that the XRP explosion up is just starting. And it's just, I'm telling you, if you think XRP makes sense and is going to make you like ridiculously wealthy, you are not the only one that thinks that. It is very successful people, very wealthy people who don't have a track record of making poor financial decisions who agree with you that XRP is going to be worth a fortune compared to where it is right now. It's not just you and me, crazy old Moon Lambeau on the internet saying crazy things. No, absolutely not. It is some of the most successful people in the world of finance and investing that think XRP is going to be worth way more in the future. So I got several examples here, but before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Oh, Peter Brandt, Peter. So this guy, he's been a trader for close to 50 years, quite literally, and he is legitimately good at what he does. I very genuinely mean that. He's very talented. He got famous in the world of crypto first at the because he made a call that Bitcoin was peaking at the end of 2017. He nailed it. Then he also accurately called the bottom for Bitcoin in December of 2018. And now he's got like a bazillion followers. I think he's probably got close to like 1 million followers on X at this point. So legitimate talent, high accuracy rate. Like he's consistently accurate, except when he has anything to say about XRP. This guy, despite all of his genuine talent, has missed every single move price-wise for XRP that matters for over a decade. He has missed everything that matters for XRP price-wise for over a decade. How can you possibly be that wrong about just this coin, but so right about everything else that you chart? It's because he hates it. He says that XRP is a scam. He said that he was arguing that XRP was a security back when that lawsuit was going on with the SEC. All that stuff. He irrationally hates it so bad that his bias seeps in and into his analysis. And as a result, he's missed every single move. In fact, after the first pump for this cycle in November 2024, he missed that one also. Of course he did. In fact, he was calling for doomsday stuff leading up to that. And then as soon as that happened, he flipped and he had a positive post and I shared it. I was like, okay, I guess Peter Brandt's flipped. And then after that, he went negative again out of nowhere. Like, and I'll show here. Actually, I've got the example pulled up here. Look at this. This is from March 26, 2025. This is a headline from Cointelegraph. XRP price at risk of 50% plus correction if bearish trading pattern holds. Peter Brandt. And they're referencing this post right here, where he was warning that a head and shoulders pattern was playing out, which could cause XRP to drop down to $1.07. Now, other analysts took a look at this and said this absolutely is not a head and shoulders, and it just does not meet the technical specification of that. And how could Peter Brandt, who is genuinely talented, be this wrong about it? Because you can see, like, I'm not a chart guy. I'm not pretending to be one, but like that doesn't look like a head and shoulders pattern. Like you don't have to be a chart guy to see that. It's obviously not. Unquestionably, it's not. But he was arguing this. The only other analyst that I saw that was arguing this might happen even was Ali Martinez. That's it. Those are the only ones. So there's a guy with XRP derangement syndrome and then a guy who just had a bad call, who does not suffer from XRP derangement syndrome. That was it. The other dozens of XRP chart guys that I follow did not think that this made sense. And they were right? So he's just calling this thing. It's like he's projecting what he wants it to. That's what he wanted to happen here. And XRP, of course, just ridiculously performing now. And so it starts moving up, and he's changed his tune again. I guess finally he's tired of having egg on his face. I'm not sure. I was saying that at the end of last year, and then he flipped negative again and just went completely irrational. I don't know what's up with this guy. I genuinely don't know how his brain works and why it's doing what it's doing. This is what happens with XRP derangement syndrome. When you suffer from that, it turns your brains into applesauce. Like, so people who can otherwise logically process all sorts of things and critically examine complex situations, when it comes to XRP, their brains become applesauce and or mashed potatoes. Sometimes it's a blend. Sometimes I don't know how it happens, man. I don't know the science behind it. It just happens though. But he's flipped. Even Peter Brandt is like, yeah, this thing's gonna rip. Look at this. He wrote, and so, oh, by the way, so this was yesterday, Friday, as XRP started to move up. So it was already starting to move though, so he had the benefit of seeing that. But he wrote, everything I've come to know about charts informs me that the next trend in this mystery market will be up, up, up. The market is just pausing in the yellow box. Well, what do you know? That's what I've been saying this whole freaking year, after XRP hit an all-time high anyway. It's just been consolidating for pretty much all of 2025. And so now he's saying something truthful. It's just consolidating. We never were at risk of dropping to $1.07. It wasn't going to happen ever, folks. It wasn't a head and shoulders pattern, duh. And now he's acknowledging now he says everything he knows about charting. It tells him up, up, up. Interesting. So he's flipped. So officially, Peter Brandt, who suffers from XRP derangement syndrome, even he agrees with us now that it's going to be worth a fortune compared to where it is now. Now, here's a post from Dark Defender mocking anybody that was calling for head and shoulders. And there are all sorts of people. Like, I remember the blockchain backer addressing this, because he saw somebody else making that claim, and he's like, no, it's not head and shoulders. And I'm paraphrasing there. But the Dark Defender is aware of this as well. He's been accurately calling what's happening in the world of XRP, including the initial breakout last year. And so yesterday he wrote, where is the head and shoulder crew now? XRP hit $2.77 Fibonacci level 2, a clear wave 5 breakout. Congrats to those who believe in waves. You are winning. And then after that, XRP went on to hit yesterday as high as $2.97 on some exchanges anyway. And so, yeah, where are all these people? Where are the head and shoulders people? With their itchy, flaky scalps. Where are those people? I don't know what's going on, man. And then we have this. Dan Tapiro. I don't know a ton about this guy, but I like him. I've seen him in a handful of videos where he's just kind of speaking his mind, sit-down interviews with various people in crypto, just on YouTube. And he's a sharp guy. He's not explicitly an XRP guy, but he's never been anti-XRP that I've ever seen. He's just acknowledged that, like, it's here to stay. There's a vibrant community around it. There's developers. It's actually useful. Those types of comments anyway. And so he just shared this post 9 hours ago. He wrote, "These are epic charts. Explosion up just starting. XRP and gold following Bitcoin." Now, folks, this guy is no fly-by-night individual. He is the CEO. Here, I'll show you. Where's the team page? Right here. And so this is him right here. He is the CEO of 10T Holdings. That's him right there, CEO. And here you can see this firm, kind of big. They got $1.2 billion worth of assets under management. Pretty impressive, frankly. And so this is a firm, they're not a venture capital firm, and they're not investing directly into crypto so far as I'm aware. They're basically investing in mid to late stage companies in the world of crypto. So companies that are in crypto, but it's kind of accepted, like they're pretty well established and they're not going anywhere. So you don't get quite the upside, but there's less risk. That's the trade-off there, of course. And he basically filled a void because there really wasn't any other firm, none that I'm aware of anyway, that was fulfilling that particular need in the market for people that, want exposure to companies that are operating in the world of crypto, but not brand new ones where over 90% of them fail. And so less risk, not as much of the upside, but still much greater upside than just investing in like the S&P 500. So that's the whole thought process behind it. And so he filled the void, which is pretty cool. Like he came up with something that is unique that nobody else is really doing. And so he has found success, and he's grown to 1.2 billion in assets under management. So smart guy here. And he says XRP Looks like it's about to frickin' blow. Explosion up, just starting. That's his quote. And he shared an XRP chart. So very interesting. And so he's been following XRP for a little bit at least. Here's a post from him on December 1st of last year. So XRP had already been running, obviously, to that point. It was probably close to like $2.90 at that. Oh, no, it got to $2.90 on December 2nd. So when he posted this, it was $2.41. I see this. But anyway, so check this out. He wrote, referencing XRP, he says, added $100 billion of value in 4 weeks, plus 400%. And does anyone really know why? Most misunderstood or simply not understood cryptocurrency in XRP. Constantly pilloried on X. But adding $100 billion in 4 weeks did not happen by mistake. Not an error. Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple vindicated. Okay, that's a pretty damn good post. And he's right. It's what we already know. We in the community, we know because we were just like living in the land of reality and we want to believe whatever's true. And as we looked in, because we were all once blank slates, and as we went to go seek the truth and find out what's going on with XRP, we found out there's actual utility. And as it turns out, utility matters and will win the day. When it comes to investing, that's how it works. Those coins that don't do anything will not be here forever. But XRP is functionally useful. So, of course, it was always going to pick up in price at some point, especially once the attack was over. That did need to happen, the attack from the SEC. And Raoul Pal gets it now, too. Raoul Pal, he's a former Goldman Sachs executive. He does hold some XRP, and he has for several years now, at least at this point. And he's the founder of Real Vision and Global Macro Investor. That guy is a wealth of knowledge. And so he wrote here in response to Dan Tapiro, he said, yep, XRP has a very good chart, Doge too. Now, it is the case, though, that even some of the most knowledgeable people in the crypto space, like Raoul Pal, and he really is, like I consider him in terms of his analysis and perspective, it is top shelf, unquestionably. In fact, he's the one that's been beating the drum about global M2 and the importance of that, how Bitcoin and the crypto asset class as a result follows that. He's who I learned that from. And so I've been spreading that message as much as possible, but he and Julian Biddle over at Real Vision, they've been spreading that message like crazy. But even guys like Raoul Pal, you're not going to get everything right. And he actually got XRP wrong. In the later half of 2024, before XRP took off, he warned that you shouldn't engage in like cult-like mentality, and he was referencing the XRP community and people that are just blindly believing some sort of narrative that he thought was false. And I think what happened here, and I said it at the time, and this is August 2024, so months before XRP took off. I said, guys, I'm surprised that he's saying this. I remember talking about it at the time, and I said, I think he just doesn't know what he's talking about, and he probably shouldn't have said anything. Because it's very clear to me, like, he doesn't hate XRP. There was no venom there. He said something that he assumed was true because there's a coin, it hadn't been moving in price, but he should know better than that. Like, that's the thing. Like, he should know, like, just because something hasn't moved in price, that in and of itself doesn't mean that it's a dead coin. It can mean that, but that in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean that. And if you look at the XRP ecosystem, you can see that it's one of the most useful coins out there. There's a reason that it has always been in the top 10 coins by market cap its entire existence, right? And so when he said that, I was surprised, like, oh, that's not good. I was like, I know this won't age well for him. I know it won't age well for him. And it didn't. But even some of the sharpest guys out there can get things wrong. The reason he got it wrong is because he didn't do an actual analysis. He just had an opinion, and he stated the opinion, and he probably just shouldn't have said anything, frankly. Because if he had done the analysis, I don't think he would have been saying what he said. But he was just under the impression, and you could tell he was genuine. Like, he just wanted people to not miss the bull run. And I do believe he was genuine, for sure. But to his credit, he admitted he was wrong. Here's December 2nd, XRP had already blasted off. And he said, "You were right, I was wrong. Well done, dinosaurs still roam the earth." And that is how you build trust in people. When you're wrong and everybody can see that you're wrong, you don't double down, be like, I wasn't wrong and here's why, blah, 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 when obviously you are. You're just like, you just own up to it. Just no ego. You just say, yeah, I was wrong. Okay. Because it's okay to be wrong. And so what happened is once he did that, he built more trust with me and everybody else that follows him. I was like, oh, that's a stand-up guy right there. Because it's okay. Like, where I get stuff wrong, he got that. Like, people get stuff wrong. totally fine. I just hate it when people are disingenuous and won't frickin' own up to it. Because if you're willing to lie to me about something so obvious and the whole world can see that you obviously don't believe what you're saying, I just gotta wonder, what the hell else are you gonna lie to me about? And you break trust, and then I don't want to follow you. That is not what happened here, though. He's just a stand-up guy, wealth of knowledge. I don't think I could possibly be a bigger fan of Raoul Pal. And so he's come around. He's probably looked into XRP a little bit more since then, and he does believe that this is absolutely going to blast off. I mean, again, this post from him, this was just literally yesterday in the evening. He's like, yep, XRP has a very good chart. And that's not the only recent post he's had about XRP. He believes it absolutely actually is going to blast off. And I'm with him on that. It's so obvious. It couldn't be more obvious. There should be no surprise that XRP took off here. It shouldn't have surprised it. It's anybody that looked into it anyway. And so Raoul Pal also flipped, you know? Now, again, he doesn't suffer from XRP derangement syndrome, and he never has, but he flipped because that's what makes logical sense to do here. There's also this post from Paul Barron, and he's got a large YouTube channel, like 1.55 million subscribers, actually. And he talks about tech stuff, some crypto, not exclusively crypto. But he's just like a data-driven guy, and he just wants to believe. I can just tell, like, whatever is true, he wants to believe. He doesn't get into the tribalism that is, unfortunately, rampant in the world of crypto. And so just 11 hours ago, he posted, could the violence repeat itself? XRP, we may be nearing that point. And so when he posted that, XRP was at $2.81 at the time. And he's optimistic that it's going. Now, he doesn't always postulate such things. And so the fact that he's looking at this and acknowledging, because he does understand some chart stuff, the fact that he's looking at that and saying such a thing, I'm like, interesting. And this was reposted by XRP community member Frecky. Frecky has been in crypto since 2011, and he actually is a financial professional, and he's had a whole career in finance. And so he's been in XRP basically from the beginning. And I mean, just as close as you can get to it, it's same for Bitcoin, actually. And he recognizes that XRP is just an obvious winner, and it's going to go completely insane. And so he wrote, yes, XRP will go over $5 and break out. Watch and learn. And so he's not saying that XRP is going to peak at $5. He's saying it's going to hit there, and then it's really going to break out at that point, which just makes sense. You know, and I don't want to read this article, but just to drive the point home further, this is a headline from the CryptoBasic. Bitcoin expert confirms XRP forces its way into the Bitcoin conversations as demand for XRP is real. So I'll read just the opener here. Excuse me. Tim Kotzman, host of the Bitcoin Treasuries podcast, recently shared an unexpected observation that the media won't stop asking about XRP. This came during a recent interview with Ben Workman, CIO at Swan Bitcoin. And by the way, everyone at Swan Bitcoin has XRP derangement syndrome, so far as I've seen. Despite his Bitcoin first stance, Kotzman noted that conversations with journalists and financial media consistently veer toward the XRP token. Okay, why is that? Because there's constant interest around it. So of course the media is interested in covering it. Because when they cover it, it gets attention because there's a boatload of people throughout the entire planet that want to have information and consume data and stories about it. Because it's organic. This is a very real community, and it's freaking gigantic. We are the best community in all of crypto. I firmly believe that. Very clearly. It's true. And so, of course, given that this is organic, it's only going to get, and it's only getting bigger. It's only getting bigger. Given that's the case, and there's so many of us, of course, all these toxic Bitcoin maximalists are noticing that they're getting asked about XRP, and they hate it. They're threatened by XRP because it does what Bitcoin can't. You know, name a task that Bitcoin can fulfill that XRP cannot. Like just in terms of utility, what task can it do? What utility role can it fill that XRP can't? Well, there's none. The answer is none. What can XRP do in terms of utility and fill in a utility role that Bitcoin cannot? The list is long because Bitcoin is not technologically sufficient. Can you imagine throwing that piece of shit coin Bitcoin as a bridge currency? Can you imagine if Ripple were using that? Oh my God. Like, you would be adding friction. You would be slow transactions and very costly. You would be adding friction. That'd be stupid. because Bitcoin just can't do what XRP can. So of course these people who have heavy Bitcoin bags, of course they're threatened by it. Obviously. But the explosion is coming. So just like Dan Tapiro said at 10T, XRP explosion up just starting. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we had our first major pump over half a year ago, starting in over half a year ago, November. The second pump, and this is the exciting part, the second pump historically is way bigger than the first pump in terms of XRP price against the dollar. So the appreciation we're going to get, how much it's going to be worth in terms of dollars, through the roof, if history is to rhyme with itself. That's what's exciting, folks. It's nice to see some people coming around here, though, is it not? Some of these people have to be kicked, what's the phrase? Pulled over, kicked, dragging, kicking, and screaming. You know what the hell I'm trying to say. My brain just broke, but you know what I'm trying to say. You got the cut of my joke. They have to come over to her side, dragged, kicking, and screaming. I think that's it. That's the one. That's the one. And that's true. But, eventually people figure this stuff out. There's never been a better time to be an XRP holder, though, my friends. And you've seen the strength from XRP. You just wait. When this thing goes, my God, it's going to melt some freaking faces. And I am here for it. I've been waiting the better part of a decade for that to happen, and I just know that it's coming. That is what's next. We are so close. It just couldn't be more obvious. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.